This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
It is 5 o'clock on your Wednesday. Good morning to you. I'm Lauren Casey. Here's what's making headlines on this July 8th. A second night of protests down in Bloomington in response to an alleged racist attack. This morning, who's now getting involved as calls for justice grow louder. Plus, a state lawmaker is calling for more transparency to protect Hoosiers living in nursing homes from COVID-19. Working for you, her plan to get accountability from long-term care facilities. And Hancock County is one of the fastest growing areas in our state. This morning, we're taking a look at some of the new companies moving into this development park and why not everyone is excited. But before we get to those top stories today, we need to get a check of your Storm Team 6 forecast. Todd Kloster is standing by from home right now. And Todd, it's going to be another hot one. And some people may see some thunderstorms again.
Yeah, we're definitely going to build in those isolated storms later on this afternoon, Lauren. This forecast hasn't changed one bit from earlier in the week. We start off in the 70s with the sunshine. We build in those fair weather cumulus clouds, and then eventually they start to produce some heavy rain and a little bit of lightning. And that is the case that'll be later on this afternoon, once again during the peak heating of the day. There's a live look outside. As you can see, some haze still. That's the moisture that we have in the atmosphere, and temperatures are currently sitting in the 70s, as warm as 77 in Muncie. 71 is the current temperature in Bloomington and Lafayette at 73 degrees. Satellite radar picture pretty quiet across the area as we go forward in this forecast. Again, we're expecting eventually some storms to start to pop up during the afternoon hours, but it's pretty quiet across much of the Midwest. That's because we still have this big area of high pressure that's in control, and the jet stream is just still way to our north. So we don't have to worry about any fronts coming through our area until potentially Friday. That's when things are going to start to change. Near 90 already by the noon hour today, with a high temperature in the low 90s and those spotty storms developing this afternoon. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look at traffic right now as you're heading out on the roads. This is our INDOT traffic camera at I-465 and West 86th Street. This is up on the northwest side of town. Traffic is moving along up to speed, as you can see. We'll continue to keep a close eye on your commute and let you know if there are any crashes or delays. But here at 502, the FBI is now getting involved in the alleged assault caught on camera down in Monroe County on the 4th of July. The victim and the community are now calling for justice. Our Alyssa Donovan is joining us live this morning from Bloomington with more details. Alyssa, good morning.
Good morning, Lauren. And the video of the assault, the alleged assault rather, has attracted national attention, and now the FBI is getting involved. They are investigating this as a potential hate crime at this point. That announcement was made yesterday. Vox Booker, the man who was being held against a tree in the viral video, says his attackers threatened to lynch him. While he got away, Booker says the fight is not over. He wants the people who attacked him off the streets. Protesters gathered outside of the Monroe County Courthouse Monday and Tuesday evening, asking for arrests in the incident. At the time of the alleged attack, DNR was called to the scene. Booker says he wants the DNR officers who did not make any arrests held accountable.
I was heartbroken when the supervising officer, the major, showed up. I felt re-traumatized as I recounted to him how I was afraid for my life. I thought these individuals were literally going to lynch me against a tree, how they had told folks in the crowd that they were going to break my arms while they literally had one of my arms twisted behind me, was mind-blowing. What this officer said to me was, well, I could go arrest these guys, but they would tell me, hey, what about our property rights? We have a right to defend our property. And it was earth-shattering.
And the Department of Natural Resources says it continues to investigate Saturday's attack. During a press conference on Tuesday, Booker's lawyer stated that law enforcement did not move quickly enough the night it happened. And demonstrators took this to the streets of downtown Bloomington once again last night, this time taking additional safety precautions after two protesters were hit after the protest Monday evening. That incident is also still under investigation. The Bloomington police are investigating that incident. Reporting live, Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you. Here at 505, there are growing concerns about safety along the canal here in downtown Indianapolis after more violence at this popular attraction. Police are still investigating the shooting that left a 24-year-old woman dead early Sunday morning. Less than a week before that, a 14-year-old boy was shot and killed when he allegedly tried to rob someone. People we talked to say that they cannot stop enjoying the canal, but they are more alert. We asked IMPD what's being done to improve safety here.
It's scary, and we have to be careful what time we're out and about and what areas we're in. It's just being a little bit more aware.
I always consciously or subconsciously kind of take a quick inventory because you're down here, right? It's not like you're up high and people can see you. So I always, especially when with my wife, I always like to try to get a feel for things.
We have extra officers coming in to patrol, and we're making sure our bike units are spending more time on the canal. It's better lighting. DMD has stepped up with lighting. Cameras. We're installing more cameras down there.
IMPD also works with State Capitol Police and park rangers who have jurisdiction on parts of the canal. The areas surrounding Marion County continue to grow with new businesses, and large companies are moving out of the city and into more rural areas. This morning, our Kelsey Anderson explains with the growing community comes some growing concerns from the residents who live there.
Earlier this year, Amazon announced they will be hiring 800 people at a new facility in Hancock County. One resident I spoke to says while growth and change are good, she's hoping that the county leaders are planning for the future. Mary Candlish lives in a subdivision off of 600 West, also known as Oleo Road. She says as construction of new big businesses continues, she's concerned about traffic heading south towards I-70. The road has always had a problem with backups. It's a 2-lane road for several miles, and she thinks the county should widen the road to a 4-lane road before things become dangerous.
Well, because you're dealing with the railroad tracks as well. So, somebody's house is on fire, there's a bad car accident, somebody's having the traffic isn't going to move.
I spoke with Randy Sorrell, the executive director of the Hancock County Economic Development Council. He says they've had groups come out and do studies on the roads, and what they're doing now is exactly what the experts envisioned. But that doesn't mean that's the end of the change.
What we do today, 50 years from now, will they do something else? Right. I mean, this road, like any road, you don't do it once and then you're done with it. You do something to meet that need in the immediate future, the near future, but eventually you have to do something else.
Amazon has not said yet when exactly they plan to start working in Hancock County, but I did speak to Ambrose Property Group, and they say they've already started building the second of 4 buildings slated for that lot, and they're hoping they can bring more big names to the area. Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
Kelsey, thank you. It is 5:08 now to the latest on the COVID-19 pandemic here in the state of Indiana. The State Department of Health confirming 314 new COVID-19 cases. More than 48,600 people in Indiana have been diagnosed with the coronavirus so far. The Department of Health also reporting 19 new COVID-19 deaths. Since the pandemic began, 2,524 Hoosiers have died from the virus. The state says more than 530,000 people have been tested for COVID-19, and 9.2% of those tests are coming back positive for the coronavirus. More than 1,220 of the deaths happened at 180 different long-term care facilities. That means that nursing homes make up about half of the deaths here in the state of Indiana, yet only 12% of all the COVID-19 cases in our state. And so state leaders say they will soon release where those deaths and those cases have happened. But as our Call 6 Investigates team and Kara Kenny found out, one lawmaker says more needs to be done to protect the public. Senator Gene Breaux wants to make sure that the state publishes where people have died and where the outbreaks are occurring. The reality is we could face another wave of COVID-19 or another public health crisis. Since mid-April, Call 6 has been asking the state for nursing home deaths broken down by facility. We shared stories of families with loved ones in nursing homes pushing for the data to be released. It was not until July 1st that the state agreed to release that information.
Long-term care facilities are vulnerable to any kind of health crisis, and that perhaps they may be even the first indicator of issues that are going on. So that's why I think legislation is a critical piece of this.
Well, the state plans to publish that data 5 months after the pandemic began. Senator Breaux plans to file a bill to make sure that these kind of delays never happen again and to make sure the state is required to report nursing home cases and deaths by facility. Breaux says that some other states have stopped reporting data because their state's executive orders have expired. It is 5:10, and this morning Indianapolis leaders will announce details on the city's rental assistance program. Mayor Joe Hogshead and others are set to speak at 10:30. For a look at this coverage, you can go to the RTV 6 app. We'll also have an update for you on the news at noon. A statewide rental assistance program is going to start taking applications on Monday, though. Governor Eric Holcomb announcing the $25 million program last month. It will provide up to $500 in assistance for 4 months. There are several eligibility requirements. The program is available to residents in every county except for Marion, which received separate federal funding for rental assistance. For more information, you can go to indianahousingnow.org. Right now, we want to get a check of our Wednesday forecast. Todd Clausen is standing by. Hey, Todd.
Yeah, Lauren, the heat and humidity continue across central Indiana today. In fact, temperatures today potentially a few degrees warmer than yesterday's high of 91 degrees. But the morning hours have been very consistent with temperatures in the 70s. We start off with nothing but sunshine. Then as the afternoon wears on, we start to see the clouds build. And then eventually some of those clouds will start to produce some isolated thunderstorms. 76 degrees by 8 a.m. The radar is clear right now. That is some false returns north of Lafayette. And the overall weather pattern, though, keeps the jet stream way to our north, and that's keeping the heat in the forecast for us not only today, but tomorrow as well, before some changes start to arrive during the day on Friday. So back into the 90s for just about everybody. With the humidity today, it's going to feel like 95 to 100 degrees once again. We'll talk more about the storm chances for you coming up in just a few minutes. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. President Trump is putting pressure on governors to fully reopen schools in the fall, even as the rate of coronavirus cases continues to rise in some states. After the break, the National Education Association and other prominent education groups weigh in on that debate. And the NBA is preparing to return to the court in just a few short weeks. So coming up, the new resources the league is offering to players and staff to keep everyone safe and healthy. Those stories and more coming up after the break. Stay with us.
Premieres Wednesday, July 15th on ABC.
Welcome back. This morning, hospitals are being pushed to the brink fighting the coronavirus outbreak in some states. New models point to a rising death toll in America, and a number of states are reconsidering or rolling back their reopening. On the political front, the president says he will, quote, pressure states to allowing schools to return this fall, all while some scientists say there's emerging new evidence in how this disease spreads. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has the latest right now from Washington.
The nation now fastly approaching 3 million coronavirus cases, more than any other country in the world. The U.S. death toll also reaching a sobering new toll, over 131,000 killed from COVID-19. But on Tuesday, President Trump claimed,
we're doing very, very well. Again, mortality rate the lowest anywhere in the world.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, lead infectious disease expert on the outbreak, flatly refuting the assertion.
It's a false narrative to take comfort in a lower rate of death.
A new model from the University of Washington warns 200,000 Americans could die from COVID before Christmas. And now a number of states are rolling back reopening as a result. Hospitals and healthcare systems being pushed to their limits. In San Antonio, Texas,
we are days away from overrunning our hospitals.
The military sending nurses and specialists there. Florida in for a fight on the front lines. 100 nurses are headed to Miami, where ventilator use has more than doubled. 50-plus hospitals across the state at ICU capacity. In Arizona, testing sites are packed and labs are backed up. Despite the dire situation in several states, the president says he is pressuring schools to reopen, even though local officials, not the federal government, hold authority over school reopening decisions.
We're very much going to put pressure on governors and everybody else to open the schools.
This as the World Health Organization acknowledging for the first time it may be possible that COVID-19 spreads through the air more easily than originally thought. The president also officially taking steps to withdraw the United States from the World Health Organization, something his 2020 opponent Joe Biden says he will reverse if elected in November. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, Washington.
And let's talk a little bit more about that. The president has officially notified Congress and the United Nations that the United States is formally withdrawing from the World Health Organization. The letter reportedly says the U.S. will begin a one-year withdrawal from that organization. Back in May, President Trump announced that he planned to withdraw from the WHO. He accused the organization of aiding China in covering up the origins of the coronavirus. That claim has not yet been confirmed, but some state lawmakers and health experts have voiced their frustrations with the president's decision to withdraw during a pandemic. New this morning, the movement to take down Confederate monuments across the United States just gains some star power. Justin Timberlake is joining in the fight. In an Instagram post, Timberlake wrote, quote, "No one should be protecting the legacies of Confederate leaders and slave owners," end quote. He also said that removing the statues doesn't erase the country's history. The time right now back here at home is 5:18. We want to check in with Todd and see if we could see any rain here in our forecast. Hey, TK.
Yeah, Lauren, as we go throughout the day, there are rain chances in the forecast. Today, it's feast or famine once again, and kind of the same thing for tomorrow before the rain chances become a little more widespread as we work our way into the day on Friday. And the reason why on Friday they become a little more widespread is because an actual front is going to start to make its way through the area, and that's going to break us from this monotonous pattern of temperatures in the 90s with the daily chance of storms in the afternoon hours. Once we get to Saturday, a real small chance of an isolated thunderstorm in the forecast. We're starting today off just like we have almost every day this week with temperatures in the 60s and 70s, mainly clear skies, some haze out there, and we'll have lots of sunshine to start the day. And then as we work our way throughout the day, we'll build in the clouds and then the chance of some storms in the afternoon hours. Once again, highs today will be topping off in the low 90s for us all across the area. When you factor in the humidity, which remains way up there, it's going to feel more like it's in that 95 to 100 degree range as we get into the peak heating of the day. Satellite radar picture is pretty quiet right now as we expand out. You notice there's not a whole lot going on across the area. The past few mornings, we've had some isolated downpours already. That does not look like it's going to be the case throughout the morning today. So expect quiet conditions if you want to get out for that workout. As I said yesterday, earlier the better, simply because it's going to be cooler. The humidity is still high this morning. You'll definitely work up a sweat, but you won't have the sunshine beating on you with temperatures in the 90s. And then as we get into the afternoon hours, right on cue, by 2 o'clock, some storms starting to develop. They're with us off and on throughout the evening hours with some heavy rainfall in some locations, a little bit of lightning mixed in as well. And then once the sun starts to set, we see any storms fade away. Temperatures this evening remain in the 80s, so it's going to be another warm and muggy evening for us. Tomorrow, back up into the 90s. Daily chance of those storms in the afternoon hours. Once again tomorrow, as you'll see them start to flare up during the afternoon and evening hours on Thursday. The difference is late Thursday into Friday. More of a front will make its way through the area, and I do think that the storms will be a little more numerous and potentially a little bit stronger on Friday as this front slides through the area. But once it is through, there's just a stray storm in the forecast on Saturday and Sunday. It's still warm with high temperatures in the upper 80s, just a little bit cooler than the 90s that we have been seeing across the area. And the humidity comes down a little bit. You need to enjoy that because starting Tuesday, potentially we start another heat wave that's going to take us into the middle to end of next week.
All right, Todd, thank you. It is 5:21. The NBA is taking a proactive approach and stepping up mental health resources for the players living away from home during this upcoming season. When the season restarts, players and staff will be kept isolated and away from their families for up to 3 months. They say they'll be in what's called a bubble at Disney's Wide World of Sports complex near Orlando, Florida. Teams will have rec rooms where they can play video games, cards, and ping pong. They are also encouraged to do self-care activities like meditation and yoga. There will also be on-site clinical services and an app that will provide mental health resources, tools, and access to an on-site clinician. In Illinois, teens' creativity could take her straight to the bank. Up next, how this unique dress could earn her $20,000. And Congress is away for a 2-week recess, but discussions are underway now for another aid package. Coming up on Good Morning Indiana, where negotiations stand and when we could see a bill passed. At 5:22, we'll be right back. 4 months and 41 rolls of duct tape. That's what it took for 18-year-old Peyton Manker to make this prom dress. Unfortunately, the dance had to be canceled due to COVID-19, but she used the pandemic as her inspiration. Peyton created a coronavirus-themed dress featuring images of life during the pandemic. It even included accessories like a flatten the curve face mask. Peyton's design could win her $20,000 in cash scholarships from Dr. Brand. Wow, Todd, that's pretty impressive. Very creative.
Yeah, sure is. That is super creative. Congrats to her. That's awesome. Look at that dress. Wow. All right. Outside right now, it is warm. It is muggy. Temperatures are in the 70s across central Indiana. But as we work our way throughout the course of the day, our temperatures are going to warm very, very quickly once again. In fact, by the noon hour, we're looking at temperatures already up to right around 89 degrees. We'll go up a couple degrees from there into the 90s for everybody this afternoon. And just like the past couple days, we will build in the chance of those isolated thunderstorms with the heavy downpours and the lightning mixed in. So if you do have outdoor plans, drink plenty of water, and you may have to have the umbrella handy at times later on today. We'll talk more about the forecast coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues. The time now is 5:27.
Live on CourtTV.com. This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Now at 5:30, protests continue for a second day in Bloomington, calling for justice after an alleged racist attack over the weekend. This morning, we know the FBI is joining in on the investigation. The very latest on that case and what we're learning about the car that drove into protesters.
And Lauren, Hancock County is one of the fastest growing communities in our state. A new Amazon warehouse and other major developments are now in the works. Coming up, how the county is reacting to those big plans. Welcome to Good Morning Indiana on this Wednesday. It is midweek. Lauren, we have just pumped the brakes. What is happening to July?
I know.
Let's slow down just a little bit. I mean, wow.
Yes, every day I can't believe that we're farther and farther into the month, but it sure feels like July out there. It has been hot and sticky here in the Circle City. Todd, what can we expect for our Wednesday?
You know, more of the same. Another 90-degree day in store for us here across the area. Every day except one so far this month has been 90 degrees or higher. And the one day we didn't get there was 89 degrees. So July's opened very hot, and it's going to continue to run on the warm side, even though there are some slightly cooler temperatures in our near future. A live look this morning from downtown off to the west. You see the haze out there. The sun just starting to brighten the sky a little bit. Sunrise officially, though, isn't until 6:25 here later on this morning. Temperatures are in the low to mid 70s with skies that are mainly clear. A little cloud cover up towards the Lafayette area. You see those returns coming in on radar. Those are some false returns. There shouldn't be any rain up there. And as we expand out, there's not much off to our west, but we will build in those isolated storms once again across the area throughout the day today. And as a result, we will keep those storms in the forecast through sunset. That's when they should start to fade away. So it's a hot day for us. It's a humid day for us with a high temperature getting up to 93 degrees. As far as those storms go, there could be one or two that's borderline strong to severe, but most of them, Lauren, should just be rainmakers with some lightning mixed in.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out there this Wednesday. This is I-65 near West Street and MLK. As you're heading into the downtown area from the north, everything's moving along smoothly, as you can see. No crashes, no delays around the metro area right now to slow down your commute. However, we do want to kick things off with breaking news we're following this morning. Firefighters have been battling a large building fire on Indy's near West Side. This is video from earlier this morning. The blaze started around 3:30 at this building on the corner of New York and Elder Avenue. The structure was quickly engulfed in flames, and fire crews they're out there still working this scene, and we'll continue to keep you updated as we learn more.
You know, if we don't act, we're telling folks that we're a community where you can be violent, where you can run down your neighbor, where you can lynch someone in the street.
Protests continue in Bloomington for a second straight night, demanding that those involved in an alleged racial attack that they be charged. The time now is 5:33 here on Good Morning Indiana. And Lauren, the FBI is now investigating that alleged assault as the victim and community supporters, they're calling for justice.
And so our Alyssa Donovan is joining us live this morning with more details on what's been going on down in Bloomington. Alyssa.
Good morning. And that incident happened on Saturday, the 4th of July in Monroe County. And yesterday, the FBI announced that they are going to be investigating the incident as a potential hate crime. The alleged attack was caught on camera by witnesses, and it shows Vox Booker being held against a tree. He's from Bloomington, Indiana. Booker says his attackers threatened to lynch him and used racial slurs. Friends of Booker witnessed the attack. On Monday and Tuesday evening, peaceful protests were held outside of the Monroe County Courthouse asking for arrests in the case. DNR officers were called to the scene of the incident on Saturday, but did not make any arrests, which was shocking to witnesses.
I couldn't even imagine what was going through Vox's mind, because he was being attacked by, basically by himself. We weren't there yet. So I couldn't even imagine what was happening in his mind. I was kind of surprised that they didn't make a couple preliminary arrests.
The Department of Natural Resources says it continues to investigate the alleged attack. Protesters once again took to the streets of downtown Bloomington, Indiana last night outside of the Monroe County Courthouse, continuing to ask for arrests in this case. This time they took additional precautions because the night before, a car came through those protesters, hitting two of those demonstrators, injuring one of them, taking them to the hospital. And that incident is under investigation by Bloomington police. If you want to help with that, we have details of the vehicle description on our website, theindychannel.com. Reporting live, Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you. In the wake of Saturday's attack at Lake Monroe, a nearly 5-year-old case down in Monroe County is getting some new attention. More than 83,000 people combined have signed 2 petitions calling for further investigation into what happened to Joseph Smedley. The 20-year-old IU student's death was ruled a suicide. His body was found in a lake just east of Old State Road 37 back in October of 2015. Smedley's sister, Vivienne, has been advocating for a more transparent investigation since just months after her brother's death. You can find more in-depth report on that case. It's on our website, theindychannel.com.
And now to the latest on COVID-19's impact on our state. Here's a closer look at the numbers from the Indiana Department of Health. 314 new cases and 19 new deaths reported on Tuesday. 48,626 total cases have been reported in the state. More than 2,500 Hoosiers have died from the virus since the pandemic began. 530,000 people have been tested for COVID-19. 9.2% of those have come back positive. Taking a more global look on this issue, dozens of Florida ICU units are at full capacity. And Lauren, that is just one of the many signs that the pandemic still has a tight grip on the United States.
And Dr. Anthony Fauci is also issuing a new warning to the country. John Lawrence reports.
There were more than 58,000 new COVID-19 cases confirmed in the U.S. Tuesday, according to Johns Hopkins University. That is a new single-day high.
We're not knee-deep. We're hip-deep, and if we don't do something dramatically, we'll soon be neck-deep.
An updated model from the University of Washington predicts more than 208,000 Americans will die from the virus by November 1st. Partly because of the surge of cases in Florida, Arizona, Texas, and California.
The other factor is school openings that we expect in August and September. That's going to increase contact rates on current trajectories.
Although the Trump White House is calling on schools to reopen this fall, at least 24 states are adjusting their overall reopening plans due to the pandemic.
This is not a benign illness. Yes, for most people, they're going to be fine. But some people are going to be really sick and some people are going to die.
President Trump, in a tweet Tuesday night, touted the COVID-19 death rate is dropping. But a member of his coronavirus task force says the U.S. still needs to be cautious.
It's a false narrative to take comfort in a lower rate of death. There's so many other things that are very dangerous and bad about this virus. Don't get yourself into false complacency.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
At 5:38, the city of Indianapolis and Gleaner's Food Bank announcing that they're partnering up to offer free masks. This comes as Marion County will require masks starting tomorrow. The organization says free masks will be given to those receiving food assistance at local pantries. Agencies are able to request them when they place orders online. Indianapolis has also partnered with the Red Cross and Indigo to distribute those masks.
And Hoosiers are working together, a business filling the need for personal protective equipment. The Beech Grove Fire Department received PPE donations from the retailer Northern Tool and Equipment. The fire chief says things don't seem to be slowing down, so they need to be prepared for the long haul.
The pandemic's going to be here for a while. It's brought on different challenges. We're just greatly appreciated to our community partners reaching out to us to help provide us with much needed equipment to combat what we're dealing with at this time.
Northern Tool and Equipment is also donating proceeds from safety mask sales to a first responder support group. Lauren?
And Raphael, areas surrounding Marion County continue to grow with new businesses and some large companies moving out of the city and into some more rural areas. Recently, Amazon announced they're hiring 800 people at a new facility out in Hancock County. And this morning, our Kelsey Anderson explains with the growing community comes growing concerns from the residents there.
Where the Amazon building sits is just 2 miles from I-70 near the Mount Comfort corridor, a part of the county that leaders say has been planned and zoned for this kind of growth for years. But now that growth is accelerating, residents are concerned they're going to have to hit the brakes.
I would never want to put down progress. I like progress.
Mary Candlish has lived in Hancock County for 20 years.
Anytime you can bring business and jobs for people, absolutely, that's absolutely positive. But, plan for it and prepare for it. We're already jammed up.
Her concern is along 600 West. She says traffic is already backed up for miles, and more businesses means more cars on the already busy 2-lane road.
You're dealing with the railroad tracks as well. So, somebody's house is on fire, there's a bad car accident, somebody's having the traffic isn't going to move.
Planning is on the side of what's happening.
Executive Director of the Hancock County Economic Development Council, Randy Sorrell, tells me about a year ago, the county had the Urban Land Institute come out and do a study on the Mount Comfort corridor.
And they issued a report. And the things that they said we should be doing in particular areas, certainly for this particular part of the Mount Comfort corridor, this is exactly what they envisioned and what they recommended.
This is the building that Amazon has announced they will be moving into. With 3 more slated to go in this lot, Ambrose Property Group thinks more big names will come to the area.
It's a little bit of a if you build it, they will come mentality. We are very excited about it, and we think that what we're laying out here will bring a lot of jobs.
This is my home. I've been in this community for 33 years, and I wouldn't want to do damage to my home. I'm not someone who's jetted in here to do something and then jet back out, moving on to the next thing.
I also spoke with the Hancock County Sheriff to see if they plan on growing the department along with the community, and he tells me they do plan on hiring more deputies this year. Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, RTV 6.
All right, thank you there, Kelsey. It's going to be another hot and humid day for us here across central Indiana. Honestly, today is very similar to yesterday. The only difference is maybe today we get a degree or 2 warmer for your high temperature, but you really probably won't notice that, as heat index values are going to be in that 95 to 100 degree ballpark once again. 70s here through about 8 a.m. Then we make the jump already into the 80s starting at 9 a.m. And eventually high temperatures today will be topping off in the low 90s. So it's a great day for the pool until some of those storms start to build. We are expecting thunderstorms once again anytime after probably about 1 o'clock with lightning. So if you are at the pool or outdoors doing any activity, if you hear the thunder or you see the lightning, you need to go indoors, let the storms pass. They haven't been lingering all that long, so you may be able to get back out at the pool. But for those of you who don't see any storms, the water, a great place to be. Just remember that sunscreen if you're going to be out for an extended period of time.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. With just over 4 months to go until the general election, it is unclear if voting by mail will be an option for all Hoosier voters. Coming up, why some companies making election ballots say that time is running out. The time right here is 5:43. Stick around. We'll be right back after the break.
Naturally, only from Nature's Bounty.
Welcome back. The time right now is 5:46. Here's a live look right now at traffic for your Wednesday morning commute. Looking at your screen, you can see some flashing lights. This is I-69 near State Road 13, where we are monitoring a rollover crash this morning. Right now, it's blocking the right lanes. As you can see there, traffic remains open in the left lanes, but take it slow as you head through that area. No reports of any injuries at this time, but of course, we'll continue to keep our eyes on this spot and keep you updated throughout the morning. Raphael?
It is time to talk Democracy 2020. The general elections now just 17 weeks away, and the companies that print those mail-in ballots, they're warning states and counties to make a quick decision about their plans to hold voting by mail. You see, Jeff Ellington, he's the president of Runback Election Services, a company that prints ballots, and he says it's a complex process to get ballots on those envelopes approved. States must decide what the ballots will look like, and the U.S. Postal Service must approve a design for the envelopes. Now, normally this is finished by the middle of July so that they can be mailed out in time, and many states and counties, they're running out of time.
People just need to make up their mind. The counties and the states need to decide if they're going to do it or not going to do it.
Ellington says companies won't be allowed to print last-minute ballots for states that decide way too late. Now, we reached out to the Indiana Secretary of State's office. No decision has been made on whether they will authorize statewide no-fault absentee voting.
Well, here in the U.S., debate over the next coronavirus aid is underway in Congress. Most of the relief from the first stimulus package is set to expire at the end of this month. However, the dollar amount this time around is a source of tension. Democrats are eyeing a deal worth $3 trillion. That would focus on extending the enhanced unemployment benefits. Meanwhile, Republicans want a lower price tag at $1 trillion. That would center around liability protections for businesses, schools, and doctors. Lawmakers will resume session on July 20th.
Kanye West's fashion brand Yeezy reportedly received between $2 and $5 million in government coronavirus and loans. The Federal Payment Protection Program was intended to help small businesses keep workers employed during the shutdowns. Now, reports first came out Monday when the Small Business Administration released the data on companies that were given more than $150,000. West has previously claimed to be a billionaire and recently said that he was running for president. West did not respond to requests for comment. Time now to check your forecast at 5:49. And Todd, you have given me another reason today not to do any lawn care, so thank you so much for the hot and humid forecast.
Yeah, it's going to be hot out there no matter where you are here across central Indiana, Raphael. Very humid as well. So if you do have to get outside and do anything, the earlier the better. It's going to be humid throughout the entire day, but at least the temperatures this morning are running a little bit cooler. We have the sun starting to come up here across central Indiana. Here's a look from downtown to the north, and it's going to be a day very similar to the past couple days where we have the mostly sunny skies to start, that hazy sunshine. We warm very quickly. We'll start to build in the cloud cover and eventually a few downpours as well. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s this morning. As warm as 77 in Muncie, 69 in Greenfield, a couple 70s there in Richmond and Connorsville off to the east. Bloomington is at 71 degrees. Throughout the day today, the temperatures get back up into the low 90s, about 92 degrees by 3 p.m. And then by 8 p.m., we're still looking at a temperature that is sitting at 89 degrees. So it's a very, very hot day. And as far as the rain chances go, we are expecting isolated storms to flare up once again during the afternoon hours, during the peak heating of the day. There could be a stray shower this morning that'll start to flare up, I would say mid-morning onward. But we don't have the rain out there like we have had the past couple mornings with the showers, although it looks like there's a few showers now starting to develop down towards the Seymour area. What you see north of Lafayette, that is just some feedback coming into the radar and not a shower. So the satellite radar picture is pretty quiet. As we expand out, though, off to our west, there is a front and some strong storms north of Minneapolis. It's that cold front that's going to eventually change our weather pattern as we get towards the end of the week. Today, all our storms, once again, manufactured by the peak heating of the day. They'll start to blossom or flare up and develop anytime, I would say, after 1 o'clock, and then they're with us throughout the afternoon and evening before they start to settle down once the sun starts to lower off in the western sky later on today. Tomorrow's a day very similar to today, back into the 90s with isolated storms developing throughout the day. And as we look ahead in this forecast, once we get into Friday, the storms become more numerous as the actual front comes through. And once that front comes through, it'll start to cool the temperatures down just a little bit as we get into Saturday and Sunday. We're in the upper 80s, which is still above normal, but it's not the 90s. And the humidity will start to come down a bit as well. So that'll be welcomed, but it's only a brief period of time that we get the relief, because by Tuesday we're back to 90. And then we would expand this forecast out even further. As we get into the middle of next week, the heat really starts to build back in. Lauren?
All right, Todd, thanks so much. As you're heading out on the roads this Wednesday, want to take a look at one crash we're monitoring. This is up to our northeast along northbound I-69. The crash happening here near State Road 13. This is a rollover crash, and it's blocking the right lanes. You can see police and emergency crews there at the scene. Left lanes do remain open, and things are still moving through that area. Of course, we'll keep our eyes on this spot, and we'll let you know if there are any major delays for your Wednesday morning drive. Well, South Korea is thanking healthcare workers with this stunning show. Just after the break, a look at their giant drone display. Stay with us.
Orthopedic retailer in North America, Ashley Home Store.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. This is worth a look once and twice. South Korea put quite on a show up in the sky for all to thank its frontline medical workers. It has involved 300 drones to create this display above the capital city of Seoul. So check it out. What a show. It was a surprise for the city because the government wanted to avoid creating big crowds. The drones, they formed incredible pictures showing the importance of masks and washing hands during this time. The show was originally meant to show appreciation to health workers, but it also thanked everyone who is practicing social distancing. I just got to say, what creativity, and wow, to coordinate all of those drones, that takes a lot of work.
Yeah, and you know, absolutely, Raphael, absolutely spectacular. I don't know how they do it. I mean, I know it's all computer programmed, but the time and effort going into that, pretty amazing. All right, outside right now, the sun's starting to come up on this Wednesday morning, and it's going to be more of the same in the forecast with lots of hazy sunshine to start our day. And then as the day progresses, we'll start to build in the fair weather clouds. Temperatures warm very quickly through the 70s this morning, and by the time we get to 10 a.m., we're pushing into the 80s with high temperatures later on this afternoon, climbing all the way up into the low 90s across the area. About 93 in Indianapolis. You factor in the humidity, we're talking 95 to 100 degrees for your heat index values. And be on the lookout for isolated storms to flare up once again this afternoon with those heavy downpours and a little bit of lightning mixed in as well. The time now is 5:57. You're watching Good Morning Indiana. We're back at the top of the hour. Please join us at 6 o'clock.